because Detroit Lions have officially replaced defensive line coach Terrell Williams with Kacy Rodgers from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2019 to 2024. And in that time, Spinny, they had a top 5 run defense 5 consecutive years, 6 consecutive years. Before then, and this might even tune in a little bit of the defensive coordinator, a little peek in that too. I think it is Kelvin Shepard, because this guy also used to be a former defensive coordinator with the New York Jets from 2015 to 2018. And in that time span, cashed in 2 top 10 defenses. Once Darrelle Revis left, they started to dip off a little bit. He had the emergence of Jamal Adams, who was phenomenal with the Jets. I remember looking at his numbers when we signed him. Phenomenal with the Jets. Obviously, dip off there with the Seahawks. Different defense, different play calling. But the fact that this guy has so much experience with a guy like Todd Bowles. Yeah. It's not like a situation where he was a coordinator for a little stint, 1 year. Like, we have Jim O'Neill on our staff. He was a defensive coordinator for the 49ers. 1 year. Out. Done. Shit. He was defensive coordinator 4 years with Todd Bowles, where they cashed in a top 10 defense multiple times. And not only that, he was the actual play caller. It's not an Andy Reid situation where, like, hey, Matt Nagy, come here, you can be my offense coordinator.
No,
I'm calling the plays.
He was the decision maker.
He was the brain trust. And he's Todd Bowles' right-hand man. And he's just looking to find another opportunity where he can help call plays. And that's what it is here in Detroit, because I think Kelvin Shepard might be our new defensive coordinator.
I would love to see it, but this hire by Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes for getting Kacy Rodgers in here is just an absolute home run hire. You look at, like you said, this is a guy who was from Tampa from 19 to 24, a Super Bowl winning defensive line coach in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You mentioned his run defense in Tampa Bay had never gone under 5th overall in the NFL, and the number of sacks that his defensive line acquired was never under 7th overall in the National Football League. Kacy Rodgers is a fantastic defensive line coach. This is a guy, like you said, he's been a defensive coordinator before. He's won a Super Bowl before as a defensive line coach. You bring him in here, and who does he have in Tampa that looked really good? Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey, who is a pretty comparable comparison to Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey.
DJ Reader, Mekhi Wingo.
DJ Reader and Lee McNeil. And I think those two guys and what they can do, he is going to unlock some of these guys. He is going to help this defensive line. Losing Terrell Williams was tough because he was a fantastic. Dan Campbell said he's the best defensive line coach in the NFL. Well, you got a guy that can argue that. You just replaced him with a guy that you could argue is the best defensive line coach in the NFL. Because like I said, think about that again. Those years in Tampa Bay from 2019 to 2024, the defensive line had never been under 5th overall when it comes to stopping the run and have never been under 7th overall when it comes to sacking the quarterback.
I think in those collective years, they ranked 2nd amongst the league. In total sacks. This is a phenomenal hire. Again, beyond it being a great defensive line coach, you have that defensive coordinator experience that just kind of tells me Dan Campbell's got someone not to babysit, but to be a little bit of a brain trust in there on the defensive side of the ball. And you mentioned Kalijah Kancey. I don't think he comps so much to Lee McNeil. However, he does comp to a guy we just drafted in Mekhi Wingo, who I told you when we drafted him had the 2nd best get off on the 10-yard split since Kalijah Kancey. And obviously Kalijah Kancey, 1st round pick, Mekhi Wingo not that, but I think he has similarities there. 7.5 sacks for Kalijah Kancey this year. And alongside, you put Vita Vea, our DJ Reader, and absolutely for sure he's going to make stuff work for Lee McNeil as well too. Yaya Diaby kind of coming out of nowhere last year as a rookie getting sacks. I think this is a phenomenal hire by every standard of measure. I love this.
Yeah, this is probably the best singular hire the Lions could have made to fill their defensive line coaching hole.
You want a little sugar on top too? He interviewed with the Green Bay Packers as well, and he was their prime candidate to fill their defensive line coach spot. He sniped him.
And
there wasn't even a rumor of our interview. We were just hired.
And he spent time with Dan Campbell in Miami.
Former Pittsburgh Steeler as well.
This is just an absolutely home run hire for Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and the staff. Exactly what you needed.
We needed a win, fellas. We got one. Let's go. This is a good spot to start the offseason when it comes to these coaching hires, I think, as well. And I'm curious to see what kind of ammo he's going to be able to work with on that defensive line, too, with more guys coming in, whether it's from the draft or free agency. I mean, we saw just how depleted this team got this year, but this guy's going to have some young guys to shape as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, man. I was kind of concerned. I know everybody's kind of out on Broderick Martin, and obviously I think you'd be leaning that way just logically throughout this time. Him being inactive. It's not a good sign. But with Brad Holmes' picks, there's that 3-year threshold, and you get another guy who I believe can develop defensive linemen in the room, in the building.
Yes.
Makai Wingo, a guy that you guys, if you watch the show regularly, heard me kind of gush over as a draft pick. I think that's a guy who could turn something special in terms of just getting after the passer. I think this guy helps, especially coming off the coaching staff with Kacy. And that defensive line's been rotating a shit ton too. Dominican Sue, JPP, like there's been different faces in there. And to have that amount of consistency is a credit to coaching.
Yeah.
It really is.
It truly is. And it's just, like I said, this is the best guy you could have got to fill this role. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell went out there and they got him. This is an absolute home run hire. Welcome to Detroit, Kacy Rodgers.
I think it's a pipe dream to think that he's going to restore Broderick Martin. Honestly, that's where I'm at. I think I'm out on B-Rod.
Forever? Like he's not going to play ever?
Not going to play at a good level, I don't think.
I'm not out. I'm
Maybe
pretty.
it's because the expectations are so high for these Brad Holmes picks, at least in my eyes.
I mean,
because
it's
he's
not
done
high
it so many
expectations
times,
to
but-
expect him to play.
Yeah, true. I mean,
That's where I'm at. I don't know, man. I want to see him become.
serviceable
If you look at
NFL.
Vita Vea, like this, I think this past year was like his season high in like sacks. He's usually just been like a big body to stop the run,
Yeah.
cause double teams. That's what Broderick's supposed to be doing. I'm not telling you to be a stud or anything like that, but like I think you at least got to give him some time to see him on the field. I mean, he came out of what? West Virginia.
I mean, Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like that's going to take some time to develop into something.
I'm not holding my breath for Broderick Martin.
Now, again, if you're logically, you'd be leaning on the foot out. But I'm just 3 years. That's my threshold for Brad Holmes picks. Levon Zarique, we really didn't get to see. I guess his rookie year he had a few flashes, so there was something to believe in there. But it wasn't until this year you actually got like valuable snaps out of him.
Yeah.
He was
consistently.
injured. He was injured. Like, we haven't heard any injury stuff with Broderick. Like, Levi was hurt.
But this guy, whether you don't believe in players or not, you can believe in Kacy Rodgers and what he can do. You can believe, you can believe in the heart of the cards. No, I
You just gotta believe, Nick.
I expect guys to pick up where they left off under Terrell Williams. Like I said, Dan Campbell said Terrell Williams is the best defensive line coach in the NFL. This is a guy who could argue that. Seeing on what he's done in Tampa, like you said, he's got defensive coordinator experience. Yeah.
What would you think of that, by the way? Like, I think this kind of points to Kelvin being the guy.
They're interviewing Larry Foote for that role.
Yep.
Could be a Rooney Rule type situation.
Well, Calvin would be a Rooney Rule too, though.
Yeah, but you need two.
Oh, you gotta interview two people?
You have to interview two minority candidates. Yeah.
Oh, wow. She's wasting two people's time. If you don't have
That's
intentions
so
of hiring them.
crazy.
That's actually
That's why the
insane.
Patriots put both of them on the same graphic.
I know it's two people. But Larry Foote,
They literally put their two Rooney Rule interviews on the same graphic. We interviewed two black guys today.
Probably
Put
tag
it up
the
there.
NFL,
Here you
too.
go, NFL. Yeah,
I mean, it's
and
an
Roger
interview.
Goodell.
that's what permission slip that they got it done. No, but I think having a guy like this, though, I mean, obviously it's a great hire by itself.
Great hire.
But I reached out to our guy, Sammer. It's racist of me to keep making it Samir.
I mean,
That's terrible.
you could be.
I'm Palestinian.
Yeah, yeah. You
But
can
anyway,
pass-
I reached out to him, and because that's Todd Bowles' right-hand man.
Yeah.
The defensive mind,
Oh,
Todd
yeah.
Bowles. The guy you heard Dan Campbell kind of gush over to. Like, they respect each other tons. Well, he has interest in calling plays again. And this was going to happen under Todd Bowles because Todd Bowles is the defensive mind over there, and he's currently in the defensive line coach position.
Yeah.
Here in Detroit, obviously you're not the defensive coordinator, but if you're hiring a Calvin Shepard and he needs someone to bounce ideas off of, and or just doesn't even work, I believe it'd be this kid, not kid, he's a grown-ass man, Kacy Rodgers would be the one to step up in both those scenarios. And that's why I think this kind of points to Calvin Shepard being a defensive coordinator hire, like you originally said.
Yeah. Oh, it is only one minority candidate for coordinator positions.
Okay.
I think it's two for head coach. Yeah, it's two for head coach, only one for coordinator.
So initially, before I found out the Rooney Rule applied to coordinators,
Yeah.
and I saw that the Bears were interviewing Aubrey Pleasant, I spun around my head like, oh, did Dan make a call to Dennis Allen?
Yeah.
But then I found out the Rooney Rule is a thing. But there's no anything about Dennis Allen interviewing anywhere right now.
No, there's been no content about
So either the
that.
Bears is a lock or he just chilling. I mean, I don't know what's going on.
Maybe he's waiting for all the Rooney Rules then, and then he does interviews.
Wait for all these goddamn Rooney Rules.
Dude, it's crazy to me.
That's so messed up.
No, but I think this is a home run hire, and I haven't really been that way. I remember we hired John Smith, whatever the hell his name was, 2 years ago.
John Fox.
And we were No, defensive line coach.
Oh, okay.
John
Yeah.
something. Either way, we were trying to find like he was at Penn State, and then you're like, oh, Micah Parsons. Oh,
He
no,
wasn't there,
just
was he?
missed him. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, there was like nothing attached.
Well, he saw Micah Parsons.
yeah, exactly. This guy has an actual like track record.
John Scott Jr., I think.
John Scott Jr. Yeah, I think that is what it was. But either way, this guy's called top 10 defenses 2 years in a row with the New York Jets.
Yep.
And then obviously #1 run defense 2 years
And
consistently.
he's won a Super Bowl.
And he's won a goddamn Super Bowl. Played for the Steelers too.
Played for the Steelers.
As a hard-nosed former player, like this is a perfect
Perfect hire.
pairing.
Perfect hire.
And for me, I'm looking like Calvin Shepard's gonna be your guy.
You sound disappointed.
No, not at all. No. Especially with this guy in the building.
Yeah.
I had the utmost confidence in Calvin Shepard. I think Dennis Allen was more qualified. But it is what it is. And the reason why I thought Dennis Allen was going to happen is, and we talked about it last night too, him in the 90s, he was a coach assistant for Texas A&M while Dan Campbell played there.
Yeah.
And obviously they coached together in New Orleans for 5+ years. There's obviously a relationship between those two. Mm-hmm. And I would just love to cock block Ben Johnson on that hire too. Just, hey, Dennis, come on over here. Come on.
That's fair.
Nick?
There was a super chat from Dante151. Did you guys see it?
Shout out. No, I did not.
Shout out.
Super chat from Dante151. He says, I cannot wait to see Max Clark play at Summer League. Jake Paul saying that is pitting all of his time and effort into WWE Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Jake Paul is good at wrestling. Like, that's what he should be doing.
Was it Logan that's wrestling or Jake?
Or Logan. Yeah, Logan. Logan is good at wrestling.